Hi, Sunny.
Hi.
So you're an electrical engineer on the team.
Yes.
Perhaps you could tell me about how it felt going from like the first night into the flight the following day.
It was a bit anxious. I was a bit anxious myself. That was mainly due to the fact that even though throughout the past 6 months we have developed just about all the project, we put literally in the hundreds of hours into this project. But this was a project that was quite complex for starting from nothing to its final product. It was a lot more complicated than we assumed it to be, even though we got very close in the final results. But the problem was that there were certain variables that we couldn't figure out without actually testing in zero gravity first. So I was quite anxious about it, and these kinds of variables included just some of how sturdy the hardware would be, the effects of friction along the slide of the along the quadcopter as it slides up to the landing pad, if that's going to have some effects on it, and whether we chose the correct coefficients for the PID controller, whether the latency of the video is too large. There were quite a number of factors that went into this project. So we couldn't just test them all, especially without using zero gravity, and we didn't know how to anticipate for these variables too well. We did come up with our own simulations, but they weren't as accurate as we wish they could be, because one example is just tilting the whole box to the side to simulate zero gravity. Another one is just removing the bearings that we use for rotation and just hanging it off some lamps so that we can account for center of gravity and things like that. But yeah, so as I just said before, I was just anxious, and I assume so were some of my other teammates, and we weren't completely optimistic that the experiment would go completely well on the first try, and we knew that with the first try we would just figure out what sort of variables would need to be tweaked for the second try.
So what was it like going into weightlessness?
Oh, that was just incredible, honestly. First thing you realize is just how disorienting everything is. I remember that as soon as I started floating up, the first thing I did was started grabbing to the floor, and my legs just started going all the way to the top.
And so you ended up upside down?
Yeah, I was basically just upside down, and that I did that 2 or 3 times. So yeah, the first thing you have to realize is that there isn't really any way, there's no direction of up, so you're never actually standing or anything. You just have to keep your body in line with your direction that you're looking at. Otherwise, you're going to be completely disoriented. You twist your head to one side, and your body is facing the other side, and you'll start feeling the effects of the speed of the plane, its angle, and things like that, and you could just start getting nauseous. But otherwise, it was an incredible experience, and I am glad I did it.
So on that first flight day, if I remember rightly, you were trying to take some pictures or some videos?
Yes. Are you talking about the outreach? My painting? Or are you talking about?
I think you were intending to take some pictures of the drone as well, is that right?
Yeah. Initially, I just had the hardest time just turning on the camera and things like that. First thing you want to do is just try to grab a hold of something, otherwise you're just completely free, and you have no control of where you're going to be moving. So you want first few parabolas, I just try to grab a hold of something. Then I started to just take to use one hand grabbing something, and the other one taking some pictures of the AR drone, and I was able to from the top and maybe a few from the side angles. So yeah, we got a few videos of it, but when it comes to results and things like that, the most useful video would be just from the AR drone itself. And we were saving a lot of, we wrote files of the images that were captured in the image buffer of the front camera of the AR drone. We just stored that into our computer, so that would be the images we would be using for analysis more than the videos we were taking of the AR drone itself.
So I've got a video of you doing flips.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that like?
Oh, the flips. A lot of my teammates said that it was like some of the best parts. Honestly, for me, my favorite parts was just floating around and jumping from different areas when no one else was looking around because they don't want you to be jumping around and stuff like that. So the flips are still pretty cool. While you're doing it, it's like, I don't want to call it a refresh rate or something, but you're always trying to recapture which way is up as you're moving. I think you may have felt it yourself while you're doing flip, where you just see one direction of being up and then again and again. And I just kept on having that feeling of like trying to capture where is up. And other than that, it's pretty cool. It's kind of like if you're underwater, except for when you're underwater, you feel like you know that the direction of up is underneath you or above you or in some certain angle. But here, there is no such orientation, so it's a little bit disorienting.
So before the flight, I hear you were involved quite a bit with some of the outreach efforts.
Yeah.
Perhaps you could tell me a bit about that.
So we set up outreach with Matthew Schroyer, who is part of the Department of Education, and we really wanted to inspire students to look more into NASA's opportunities, whether it be flight opportunities or internships and things like that. We wanted to inspire them to go more into math and science as well. So we talked with Matthew Schroyer, and he helped us speak with some coordinators at Stratton Elementary School. That was, her name was Zan, and with Zan and Matthew we were able to set up 2 days, each 45 minutes long, of presentations where we described their project, our mission, and things like like our mission and our overall project itself, to 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders at the school itself, and they themselves will try to describe it to other folks. And we talked about things from eddy current braking system to why we had a PVC structure, which was to constrain the AR drone to 2 degrees of freedom, all the way to the vision detection and the AR drone itself. And of course we talked about NASA's opportunities and why they should be inspired to try to look more into math and science so they can aspire to be part of some sort of NASA program.
And you, going back to the flight, you took a special picture up with you.
Yeah, that painting was created by my sister, my little sister, and she didn't do this for NASA or anything. She made this a painting of an astronaut a few months back, and it was just unintended, and then we just both realized that if I took it up to space, into the zero gravity, it would be kind of ironic, where we have like the astronaut floating in zero gravity, so it would be a cool picture to take. And I really look forward to doing it, and I had to kind of push for it with the NASA coordinators while we were over here at the flight program in Houston, and they approved it, so I was glad about that.
Great. So one final question, what advice or what words do you have for students that are, say, thinking of coming to UIUC, or thinking about an engineering program, or thinking about a science, maybe computer science program? What advice would you have for them?
The advice I would have is that they shouldn't, I think fret might be a good word, but like they shouldn't try to avoid engineering programs or math and science programs because they might have heard it's too difficult. You should also realize that the same programs are also very rewarding in the long run, and they can be very fun and very interesting. And even though at University of Illinois these programs can be a little difficult, you should persevere through them, and you'll find that the rewards and gains are way more than maybe some of the long nights you might have while you're working through them.
Great. What are you taking away from this whole experience?
I've learned quite a bit. Like I didn't program in quite a while in C or something, so I got very refreshed back into it, object-oriented programming. I worked on things that I never thought I would be working on, like hardware itself, and creating a design from the ground up in mechanical and things like that. And working on learning things that I wouldn't be learning otherwise, things in networking, network engineering like TCP clients, stuff like that. I had to look into that, understanding a pre-built product and knowing the ins and outs that in every way you can. I've read through half the user guide for AR drone, and what is that? And reading through random documentation and realizing how to tweak that AR drone for zero gravity, and it was rewarding when I was finally able to figure it out with help of my teammates as well. For example, like video streaming and how to use it, how to gain direct access to the motors. It took a good number of hours, but like I said, in engineering, when the rewards is like when you finally are able to figure out when it works. It's a feeling that stays with you for a while. Just like finishing any project, you can always look back on it and say that, wow, I finished this, even though I put all this work into it.
Great. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you.